Welcome to edition 4 of JWP's video interface. Here's the stop frame index, and the timings are taken from now. You may have noticed a small addition to our opening caption. JWP's video interface is now recorded and duplicated in VHS Hi-Fi stereo, so if your VCR has this facility and it's connected to your stereo system, switch it on and hear us as you've never heard us before, always using the latest technology. Now, it's always worth watching our closing credits because we'll include there any news that came in too late to be included in the programme. Those of you who kept watching last time will have seen that Paul Bailey, Vice President of Lotus Europe, is to be our special guest this edition, and indeed he'll join us later. Michael Rodd is looking at Pentium systems and talking about the technology surrounding this new breed of Intel chip. We have our software review and we look at the very latest in printing from Lexmark. Tim's back with the news, of course, and Frontline have not only supplied us once again with their top 20 software rankings, but have offered one lucky viewer the chance to win a complete set of the top 3, so keep watching. But first, here's a JWP exclusive. PC security is becoming a necessity to many companies, particularly where portables are concerned, which by their nature, I suppose, are more likely to be stolen or lost. JWP have secured the exclusive rights to a new device that we believe many of our customers will find most interesting. And here to explain it is a new presenter to Video Interface, a gentleman already well known to many of our customers as he is one of our account managers. Meet Michael Wade.
Thank you, Steve. I think we all heard about the notebook PC that went missing during the Gulf conflict and the consequent embarrassment that was caused. But your PC doesn't have to contain state secrets to make its data valuable. Customer lists, tenders for business takeover, merger and buyout details, all these are valuable to any unauthorized recipient, whether deliberately targeted for theft or not. What has been needed is a simple, secure, cost-effective, foolproof system for securing computer data on all types of PCs, but equally one that can be got around by the MIS department in the event of a forgotten password, but not, of course, by anyone else. Ideally, the system should not require the installation of extra hardware or external boxes to connect. Impossible? JWP believe not. Have a look at this. It's called the Safe Boot Smart Disk. And at the outset, let's explain that it's not a disk at all. Inside this case is a very advanced electronics. In this disk-sized package is a processor and memory. A cutaway view is behind me. It interfaces with the computer via the normal read-write head in the floppy drive, so there's nothing to alter in the PC in any way. This is how it works. The data is protected by encryption on the hard disk. This contains the key to read it. In use, you simply boot the system with this in the floppy drive. The system will prompt you for a password. With the correct password, the decryption key will be read out of the memory in this electronic disk into the PC. The disk can then be removed and the PC used as normal. As soon as you switch off, the decryption key is lost from the PC's memory and the data is safe again. Now, you may be wondering what happens if this becomes lost or damaged, or if you simply forget your password. Well, a new smart disk can be prepared from a master disk and the master password locked away in your MIS department's safe storage. If the PC is stolen without the smart disk, the data will be totally unintelligible. Even if the smart disk is stolen with the PC, the password protection will stop this supplying the algorithm. Because this is hardware, not just software, it gets even cleverer. 3 incorrect password entries will switch off the electronics in here for 2 minutes. Another 3 incorrect tries and it will time out for 4 minutes, then 8, then 16, 32 and so on. No software-only protection can offer this feature. You just reboot and try again. It's an ingenious, simple idea that seems to us to be pretty foolproof. Even data recovery tools will be unable to undo a safe boot protected system. However, and this is also interesting, once the unscrambling system is in place in the PC's memory, all your usual disk utilities will work as normal. Smart indeed. A number of PCs can share smart disks if you wish. Thus, a member of, say, a large sales force could borrow a colleague's smart disk temporarily to use his or her PC. JWP have the exclusive rights to this new technology and will be advertising it widely, but we wanted video interface viewers to see it first. Your account manager will have the details by now, so give us a ring if the Safe Boot smart disk is of interest to you. Now, here's Tim with the industry news.
Hello again. Let's start the news section with two very different announcements regarding software support. Borland have just launched a series of chargeable support services. Borland TechSet allows customers to choose a support service suitable for their needs, ranging from bronze, which still comes free with every package purchased, through silver and gold to platinum. The benefits differ. Silver offers extended hours and priority service, while gold includes automatic software maintenance releases. Platinum is described as being negotiable. WordPerfect, however, have just announced an expansion of their free software support service. For the first time, WordPerfect are quoting specific telephone numbers for certain product sets. Hit the pause button if you want to make a note. David Godwin said they recognise the need for additional specialist support lines as the product range expanded to include such products as WordPerfect Office and Informs. Big Blue Go Green. IBM have announced the Energy Workstation, designed to be environmentally friendly. These new systems use only 60 watts of electricity, about a fifth of that used by an average PC. Not only does this mean lower electricity bills, but air conditioning can be reduced as well, due to the very small amounts of waste heat generated. Based on the 486 SLC2 processor, these are high-spec systems. A spin-off from this low power consumption is that noisy cooling fans are eliminated, and the system units can be placed under a desk or even in a drawer. Heat build-up is no longer a problem. Looking very different, the CPUs can even be wall-mountable, the TFT colour screens adding minimal width. This is IBM innovation at its best. Your JWP account manager has the details. Lotus have just bought out Approach Software and have therefore acquired an end-user Windows database. A predictable and very sensible move, I feel. Jim Manzi, Lotus's president and CEO, is reported to have been real excited. It'll be interesting to see if Paul Bailey has comments to make about this later. This month's new software releases include WordPerfect 6.0 for DOS, the first major update of WordPerfect in 3.5 years. 90 of our customers saw the new product at a JWP briefing in June. WordPerfect have also announced that purchasers of IBM, Compaq and other systems may now buy WordPerfect 5.2 for Windows for £99. Contact WordPerfect on 0932 850 505 and ask for details of the Double App campaign, or ring your JWP account manager. Micrographics have launched Designer 4, providing 32-bit graphics with greater precision, down to 1 micron in fact, and support for up to 24,500 DPI printing. It has 3D drawing capability, 120 fonts, includes ATM 2.5, Pantone support, and a complete colour separation utility that will also handle any EPS file. The price, £495, including the PhotoMagic image editor. Now that's what I call value for money. Staying with graphics, PageMaker 5 for Windows is now shipping, and orders have promised the Macintosh version in about 30 days. With over 100 new features, orders take PageMaker head-to-head with Quark Express. What's more, PageMaker 5 includes as standard many features that are chargeable extras in Quark. Finally, Microsoft. We've recently received the long-awaited formal announcement of Windows NT. On the 27th of May, Microsoft said, and I quote, "Subject to final feedback from our customer test sites, we expect to release Windows NT to manufacturing within the next 60 days. Incidentally, Microsoft have also extended the deadline of their popular £129 generic trade-in offer. July the 31st is the new end date." And that's all we have time for in this edition. Now, here's Steve.
A couple of editions of JWP's video interface ago, we showed you some new printing technology. But as Darren said at the time, that sort of technology doesn't stand still for long. And we have some new printers here to show you today. This is Carol O'Regan from Lexmark. Welcome, Carol.
Good afternoon, Steve.
First of all, just clear up one thing for me. Why is a company called Lexmark making printers with IBM on the front?
Well, Steve, we actually used to be a part of IBM. Back in March of 1991, we were formed as a completely independent company out of a part of IBM.
This, I understand, is the 4039, which is the latest in a line. Tell us a bit about the pedigree of this.
Well, the 4039 actually comes from a pretty good line of pedigree. The 4019, the 4029, announced in October 1991, had 600 DPI and also some very unique features, which we've carried on to the 4039. It was responsive to customer requests and requirements. We've built in very good print quality, print speed, and also the protection of customer investment, which were features which were popular on our earlier machines, which we've taken on and listened to the customer again and built into this one.
Right, let me pick up on that phrase, protection of customer investment, because it sounds as though you're about to mention the word strategy. Okay. What can be strategic about buying a printer? A printer that's something that goes on the end of a piece of wire and turns white pieces of paper into black and white pieces of paper, surely.
Well, independent consultants have found that a lot of corporations have found that between 4 and 10% of the actual costs that a corporation has resides in the printing arena. So that if you look at that cost and are able to reduce that cost in some sort of fashion or focus on it, you can save quite a lot of money.
Right. So the protection of customer investment, then, explain what you mean by that phrase in your terms.
Well, what I'd like to do is actually take you around the 4039, which I have seated here, and explain it basically by looking at the printer.
Okay.
This particular machine is our model 16L. There are 4 in the family, a model 10, 12 R and L, and a model 16. This is the work group printer. Because they're all in a family, you actually have the ability to use the same toner cartridge, the same font cards, the same attachments to it. So rather than keeping a whole raft of supplies, a whole raft of cartridges, you only keep one, and you can use it throughout the whole entire range. There are also other features as well. The whole printer is designed to be upgradable. We have other paper attachments which you can add to this particular printer. There's another 500 sheet paper tray which is added to this, as all the models. There's an additional paper tray which can be added to the rear of it as well. And we also have a duplex option which fits on all the models. You don't have to buy it with the duplex. You can buy it with the duplex, but it's very easily attached. And I'd like to actually show you how that's done now.
Sure, please. Yes, please do.
Just take out this paper tray which comes here. Simply attach this. And it's attached.
Oh, that was
as simple
neat.
as that.
That was pretty neat, yes. Yes, I'll go for that for simplicity.
Great. While I have the cover open, I'd actually like to show you a number of other features as well, which make this cost-effective for a customer.
Okay.
Right, what we have here is an internal network adapter card. Basically, what you have here is you have one card which can basically take Ethernet token ring or AppleTalk, both, and it supports the popular network software as well as AIX. Rather than buying a separate card and having to throw out the old card when upgrades come along, the software is held in flash memory, so it can be downloaded from the server software. You can actually download it from the server itself to the card. We also have here a very, well, I'll say it's a unique feature which we have, a customer registration program. This is the processor inside the printer. When new editions of PCL5 or PostScript come along, rather than throwing out the whole entire printer, you can actually buy a simple upgrade, which just by replacing this particular card allows you to keep the whole unit of the printer rather than throwing out everything, and you get the full functionality and features that the software provides you with. The customer registration program actually makes this facility actually easier for you to participate in. We also have another unique feature which is called the flash memory. I say it's unique. I know there are other printers which have flash memory, but what makes this particular product unique is the fact that with our flash memory you can write to it more than 100,000 times. So let's say you're a large bank and having an awful lot of forms which you would normally store at the branches and have to transport the forms to the branches. Why all that transportation cost, all the number of forms that you keep? Why keep all that forms? Keep white paper, store the design at the printer, and print out the forms at the branch. save a tremendous amount of cost in stationery. And it's a very good way, and actually you can cut down your printing costs.
Okay, can we see it actually print something?
Yes, we can.
Right, let's have a look. Oh, that's beautiful. That is superb. Hope the camera can pick that up. Carol, I know that you've got some colour printers as well. Would you come back and show us those at some stage?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll come back in the fall. There'll be our 4079 printer, as well as possibly some new exciting announcements.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Thank you very much indeed for
You're
coming
very
in.
welcome, Steve.
JWP have been revisiting the whole subject of Windows databases, and one of the demonstrations we saw recently stunned us. With us now is Peter Pastides from Dataease. Welcome, Peter.
Hello, Michael. It's nice to be here.
Peter, why do we need another Windows database?
We believe that the major players haven't delivered a solution for the users. Despite their claims, their products are more designed for the computer expert or the power user, but not the business user. If we look at the business user marketplace, this is where the majority of databases are used, and this is the marketplace that we specialise in, providing solutions for end users. This has made Dataease the best-selling database with 1/3 of the market share. We're providing a database solution, we're not providing a programming language dressed up as a database.
Right, so you're going to show us how easy it is to use.
I think it's the best thing to do. Let's just launch straight into it and let me sort of introduce you to Dataease Express for Windows. What I have here is a form I've already built to save time, but there are two simple concepts in Dataease Express. At the moment, I'm in user mode in a form called Sales Staff, which holds information about a salesperson, and the tools for the user are subtly different between the other icon here, which is the designer. This represents a form where you would have a blank piece of paper that you would write information in as you would with a paper-based system. What I'm going to do now is just literally enter another record for you. You can see there's some names I've put in here to show you how easy it is to do record entry. So if I just put in there Stephen Page, Stephen is a male working in the Northwest. I can use them, as you see, the mouse or the keyboard to save that record. I can scroll through now. There's Martin Hopper, the JWP account manager, Jessica Mowbray, and I can view this information in tabular form as well if I like. I can even use the menus at the top to go to the first records, go to the last records, etc., etc. If I now just skip over to designer mode, that's how easy it is to go from user to designer, but if you're worried about security, then you can obviously take this feature away. But if I add just a single record there, so a bit of information, I want to know who the area manager is that looks after that salesperson, and I can look up to other bits of forms, other bits of data within that database by simply doing what we call a derivation. Just pause slightly here. This is the definition, the way in which I want to enter data. I can have text, numeric string. If it was a personnel system, I could have the currency if it was for salary. But literally what I want to do is do a lookup to a form that I've got related, which is the sales area form, and I want to look up the area manager. Simply point and click what I want. If I now simply just file, just save that, what it'll do is it'll save that definition for me, and when we come back it will just represent to you how easy it is to just look up bits of information from other parts of the database. And what I've got here, as you can see, is a staff number, the name, the sex. That's viewed differently as well.
Right.
We can see that we can display information how we want to, so the user has that choice and flexibility.
Okay, so it's taking the area manager's name from somewhere else within Dataease.
Absolutely it is. And what I'll show you in a moment is that you can do things called subforms, which actually you can pull in from other databases. It doesn't have to be Dataease at all,
Really?
which is very powerful. So if I click back here, what we'll see is there's Martin Williams, who looks after Fred Blogs, and that's pulled it in from another form. Let's go and show you that straight away. Subforms are very, very powerful. What I'm going to do now is just demonstrate to you how I can get bits of information from what we've got is the customer's form here. All I want to do is I want to produce a subform of the customer's form and retrieve some information from that form. Now I can display this in various ways, and this layout options screen is standard throughout Dataease for my reports and for my forms. I can have an original form, field per line. What I want is custom because I only want 3 bits of information. I only want the name and the company name and the last name. So if I just select the field, drop it down, place it into the subform, it invites me with a list of all the fields that are in the company form. So I select company, that's what I want, select OK. I now want the first name of the person in that company that salesperson is looking after. So just select display. I can even change its attributes. I can make it right justified, which is very, very powerful indeed if you've got lots of information. And then finally what I want is just the last name of that person in that company that salesperson is looking after. select OK. Once again, File, Save. I come back to being a user, and this allows me to test what I've done quickly and efficiently. And there we can see, pulled up information from the customer's form. We can see that Fred's looking after Ford Motor Company, Sun Alliance. We can see that Martin is looking after Glaxo, NatWest. But as I said earlier, this just comes within Dataease. I can actually pull that information in from various other different data stores. Paradox, DBase, IBM's Database Manager, Oracle, more recently the S400 environment, IBM's DB2. The list there, you can see, we can go down a bit further. There's quite a few. Very, very powerful. So Dataease Express is not only a desktop database, it's also a front end to other data stores.
Right.
That's all I want to show you on form design. What I really want to do now is come back to the catalogue section and produce a report for you, because I believe the most important part of a database is being able to retrieve information quickly and efficiently.
Absolutely.
So if I select report, reports, file, go to report, what we'll do here is it'll ask me, first of all, what form do you want to report on first? What I'd like you to do is to imagine that I'm the sales director of Cortol's, the textiles giants, who have just standardized on Dataease Express for Windows. They looked at some of our competitors like Access and Baller's products for Windows, and they were unbelieved how they hadn't addressed the user market. So they've standardized on it. So I'm now the sales director of Cortol's, the textiles giants. My managing director just phoned me up and said, I would like information about our sales activity. So the areas that we sell into, the targets those areas have got. If I select sales area, select query, what you're going to see now is what we call query by model. And this gives a picture representation of the forms that are in my database.
Right.
So when it comes up, we'll see that I can select the fields that I want as and when I want it. I've just been delivered this product, the MIS manager has given to me because it is their standard. And I would like to know what sales areas we're selling into, what targets those areas have got, what salespeople have got those targets, and then the companies that those salespeople are looking after. And simply all I can do is point and click. So if I select sales area, area target, and I'd better know what target's the largest so I can react quickly to that. Here we can see the forms that are related, so sales staff, and I just want to know the name of that person, and I would like the customer's information. What I would like now is the company that they're looking after and how many. Has it increased? Has it decreased? First and last name. That simple. Select OK. What we'll see now is that layout screen that we saw before. I'm going to select the default, which is table. Now I can just tailor it to as and where I want it. What I'm going to do now is just just change a few colors, because this is going to go onto an overhead, just like so I can make it look very effective, run that report, and what we'll see coming up is a very, very professional report that I can present to my managing director in 20 minutes time, because that's when he wants me. And it says to me, where do you want it to go? Window or printer? I haven't got a printer attached. I want it to be what you see is what you get, exactly what I've asked for. Select OK, and we'll see the end result in approximately 3 or 4 minutes. I've produced a very professional report. The sales area with the largest target is the Northwest. Fred Bloggs is looking after it. He's got 6 companies. That's increased by 1. Well done. I can present that very professional looking report. That hopefully demonstrates you don't need any programming knowledge whatsoever to be able to produce effective reports in Dataease Express.
I think it demonstrated it very well, Peter. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Michael.
I don't know whether Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, is also part of the famous Moore family that produces the Almanac, but his predictions are remarkably accurate. Moore's law states that every 18 months to 2 years, the number of transistors that you can cram onto a piece of silicon will double. So far, he's been right. In this little demonstrator, we've got some examples of the company's familiar 486 processor. There's a little over 1 million transistors on each of those pieces of silicon. But here at the end, and it's the first one I've seen, is an example of Intel's Pentium processor. 3 million transistors on a single piece of silicon, and Intel are well on course to have 100 million in one processor by the turn of the century. But developments like Pentium, remarkable though they are, of course put substantial challenges on those of us who use the technology, and certainly on those who incorporate it into their hardware. Steve Kulka is a senior systems consultant with Compaq. And this, Steve, is one of the first examples of Pentium at work, I gather.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's being used now in 3 new types of models that we have. This being typically a server machine. There are desktop versions and more powerful multiprocessor server machines. But you're right, this Pentium has really led us to re-engineer the architecture to get the best out of this processor.
the heat it generates, of course, is legendary already, and we can see inside the what I imagine are going to become characteristic heat sinks indicating where the processor is. But are we looking at a fundamentally new piece of architecture here, or is this the sort of rate change that we've become familiar with, moving from 286 to 386 to 486? How big a jump is Pentium?
It's quite a big jump. Certainly if you read the Intel brochures, you will see that it's quite a large jump in terms of basic processing power. But the answer to the first two parts of your question is probably yes to both of those. It is a major change in the architecture of the microprocessor chip itself, which will actually lead on to some substantial benefits in terms of productivity that this machine will allow you to do. But at the moment, we're in a situation where the benefits will really be achievable using existing software and to a large extent existing technology in terms of hardware.
So are we in danger then of having produced a piece of kit that's actually more powerful than we'll ever need it to be?
Well, I don't know whether whether we'll ever need it to be. These sort of situations have happened quite frequently in the past, but certainly at the moment it would be very difficult to actually get all the benefits out of a machine based around a Pentium processor, even though we've made, as I've mentioned before, dramatic changes to the architecture.
So why has Compaq taken this step?
Well, somebody had to, basically. The processor's there to be used. People want to make use of the processing power of that it actually offers you, and you get a situation where unless somebody puts it in a box so that the new software, the new operating systems, new applications, new hardware can be developed, it's not going to be developed, and therefore people won't be able to use it.
So this is the egg from which lots of chickens are going to come.
We hope so, yes.
It also creates real challenges, though, doesn't it? I mean, how many users could hook themselves on to a server as compact as this?
Well, I think the limitation at the moment, as we've just covered, is the limitation of the available software to run on these machines. There are limitations in the way that the current versions of the operating systems that you would run on a machine like this can handle a large number of users. You could easily handle 1,000 users on a machine based around Pentium with all the necessary hardware and architecture changes that we've built into this machine.
Those are the sort of statistics, though, that we associate with minis and mainframes. Now, managers of information systems are getting used to having smaller units to manage smaller sorts of networks. Are you not presenting them with something of a nightmare, introducing this type of power into a small unit?
Well, actually, we're hoping that it's quite the reverse. Managers of information management groups or people who are generally looking after computer installations are used to handling machines which look after the network for them. We've made sure that to get the best level of acceptance of a machine such as this into that sort of environment, we had to build in lots of the features that people running at that sort of level with that level of business criticality would expect. And so we've actually got fault-tolerant features built into this machine. We've got server management capabilities built into this machine. So what we're trying to do at the end of the day is actually take away a lot of that fear and uncertainty and actually make the job easier for them.
You say that it will be some time before there are applications which can take full advantage of the power of this server. How compatible is this going to be in the future with systems that already exist? Or are you really asking your customers to make a complete new investment in technology?
No, the key to the success of these machines and really Compaq's success is the compatibility issue throughout the whole of the development of the PC. Through the whole of its development cycle, the key issues have been compatibility with software that you may have based your business on and compatibility with other devices, peripherals, things that you can plug inside to generally beef up the capability of a machine like this. And without that, the whole issue wouldn't actually roll on as quickly as we've come to expect it to.
But clearly there is going to be a generation of applications which simply won't be downward compatible.
That's certainly true, and it won't be the first time that that's happened. Certainly if you have a machine that is so radically advanced as this new range of machines, you have to bite the bullet and make a few irreversible changes. We've got a situation where if you can prove that the overall performance benefit is worth it, then it's worth making the step. We hardly ever get situations where people, having tried something like a fast 486-based machine, then want to go back to a 286, so it's not really proved to be an issue in the past.
Who typically is going to take advantage of this step?
In terms of the Pentium processor itself, then there are lots of advantages to be had across the wide range of different applications. And certainly in terms of the desktop workstation, then anybody who has to do lots of number crunching, lots of scientific analysis, lots of spreadsheet recalculations, lots of graphics work, certainly areas that are becoming very important nowadays are those involved with multimedia and full motion video. And that's really where processors like the Pentium, which is sort of a new step and a new advance for Intel, will really start to prove their own. In machines that are based around the concept of being a server, then the real benefits are running this as an application server rather than just as a file and printing server.
It's rare, I gather, to see it with its side off. The configuration is critical.
Absolutely. We've now got to a situation where the internal workings of these machines, including the Pentium and the new fast breed of SCSI disk drives, now generate quite a bit of heat. We're waiting for the technology to improve on that situation, but we can't afford to hold back high-performance machines just because we can't operate them with a side cover in place.
So here you are tempting us with all the possibilities of this, but when's this going to be available?
Well, there is a bit of a problem on the availability of Pentium processors at the moment. The situation is they are being rolled out. We are getting indications that they will be reasonably available by the start of the fourth quarter this year. But it's not something you really want to worry yourself over your summer holidays about.
So this is very much a preview of what's to come. But,
absolutely.
What sort of a difference is this going to make to your business, do you feel?
In terms of the overall business, it really puts us, or re-establishes us as an industry leader. You won't find many Pentium-based machines around at the moment. There will be ways of getting around the necessary architectural changes that we've had to make to produce this box. And you will see other Pentium-based machines coming out anytime over the next 6 to 9 months. But as I mentioned before, this is really a major step forward in terms of producing a 64-bit architecture for a 64-bit processor to get the best out of the whole combination for the average end user.
So technology away from the R&D department and right
Absolutely.
into the mainstream of business.
Yes.
Steve Kulka, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Following his demonstration, Peter Bastides of Dataease International actually left us 2 copies of Dataease Express, so we decided to enter them in a draw for you. If you'd like to send in the card which comes with video interface, we'll put your cards into a drawer and the first 2 out will receive a copy of Dataease Express. Now, Frontline's Top 20. When we created Edition 1 of JWP's video interface, we thought a league table of the top-selling software packages in the UK would be interesting. The result was the Frontline Top 20. Now, I don't know how carefully you've been watching the Top 20, but there have been some very interesting results. Admittedly, it reflects only the sales out of one software distributor, but they are the biggest in the UK. To add a little extra interest this month, Frontline have generously offered to sponsor a competition. If you are the first person correctly to predict the next edition's top 3 in 1, 2, 3 order, you will receive a complete set of those 3 software packages free. So, think hard, take into account new products that have been announced and fill in the relevant section on the reply paid card. The date you should predict for is the 12th of August. But right now, here's edition 4 of the Frontline Top 20 to give you a guide.
It's special interview time, and with us today is Paul Bailey, Vice President of Lotus. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Paul, I believe that Lotus really are going through about the 4th stage in your life cycle. You started off as a spreadsheet company, then as an applications company, then a graphical applications company, but I perceive that you're moving more into work groups and communications products. Would that be a fair comment to say that?
You're absolutely right. I mean, we've come a long way from our initial beginnings in 1, 2, 3 for DOS. But we now have a strong portfolio of products particularly on the Windows space. We've got major applications in every category, and now in database with the recent acquisition of Approach. In fact, at the latest Software Publishers Association conference in Cannes, we walked away with 4 of the Oscars at the ceremony, so we feel like our products on the Windows platform have really established themselves. But the future is certainly moving much more into networked applications, and we're putting a lot of effort into how we address that end of the market. Workgroup computing is a major focus, collaborative computing, or you may want to call it computer-aided teamwork. And so 2 of our products, CC Mail, which occupies the messaging mail environment, is the leading product in that category, with over 3 million installed users now, and a 40% market share going forward. And Lotus Notes, which is really the definitive product, we believe, in workgroup computing. It's a full client-server product. It implements a document database architecture that allows you to collect the product of your work at the desktop across a local area or wide area network and enable that document information to be very effectively shared across the wide area network.
Do you feel that corporates really are now understanding Lotus Notes? Has anybody invented a way to explain what Lotus Notes is without actually seeing it and using it maybe for a few weeks?
Well, there's a lot of talk about things like business process re-engineering, and it's a fairly intimidating term. Lotus Notes puts that kind of activity in perspective. But the best way to find out what Lotus Notes can do for you is to really pilot the system. And most of our companies start off with an initial pilot, which can last a number of months. And as that pilot, they start to gain experience from that pilot, then they move into a volume deployment mode. But it's fair to say now that there's a large selection of companies out there, well over 500 major companies that are now deploying Lotus Notes in volume. And it's certainly catching on.
Right. I notice in the latest version of 123, version 4, that the term group enabling has appeared. I think we all are aware of what mail enabling is. But could you give us an explanation of exactly what group enabling will do for a corporation or for a user?
Yes, 123 Release 4, which is the very latest version of 123 for Windows, started shipping last week. And it contains a lot of new facilities, one of which is called the Version Manager. Imagine if you have a master spreadsheet model, and it could be a sales forecast, it could be an expense budget plan, it could be a piece of market research. And you have a number of users on the network that want to contribute to that model, contribute versions or views on that model. Then in the old style spreadsheet, you had to really create a new spreadsheet file for each version, and they'd be called names like Bud94CO1 or Bud94O for optimistic 02.
Yes.
Okay? And you'd be lucky if you knew what those different files really meant. You'd have to go through, load up each file and see what was in it. And you wouldn't necessarily know who did it, when they did it, or why they did it. What Version Manager allows you to do is to define the variable bits of your master model, okay? And to have different people on the network contribute versions, and they can put their own name by the version. It becomes dated. They can define whether they want other people to be able to edit it, their version, and they can annotate it with text, or for that matter with voice, okay? To say why they created it, what the assumptions were, whether it was a certain growth rate or certain pricing assumptions, etc. Okay? So now the people around the network can get a very good view of what the other people in the work group are thinking around this model, because they can see it in a way that's much easier to access. And the names can be optimistic best price model, okay,
right,
instead of Bud94CO1.
Yes, right.
So that's great. The only problem is, of course, the people in the work group might be at remote locations, and they can even be mobile users. They could be kind of anywhere on the network, couldn't they, depending on how you configure your work group. What Notes allows you to do is that it allows you to put those versions into a document database and have that document database automatically synchronized and update itself over the wide area network, so that any adds, changes, and deletes made by any of the users on the network can be reflected to the other users in the work group. It really allows the work of the group to be effectively shared. Without that facility, of course, you have to remember to mail the stuff from person to person, and don't forget it.
Right, okay. Would you think it's fair to say that the vision that was originally behind the creation of Notes is only really now beginning to be appreciated and used?
I think because of the need to get real experience with the product, clearly there is an educational phase, and there's no doubt that in the past 3 or 4 years, Notes has been going through its education phase. But the idea now is catching on very strongly, and we have a whole raft of real applications that are providing major returns on investments to our users. Inside Lotus itself, of course, we started to deploy it about 3 years ago, initially with sort of islands of users, but now over 98% of Lotus employees are Notes connected. It's hard to see how you could work within Lotus, for example, unless you're connected to Notes, because so much of the work, so much of the information and knowledge and expertise sharing uses Notes as the transport.
Right. I presume that we're going to see group enabling in other Lotus applications as well.
Yes, I mean the version manager is really architected in 3 parts. There's the user interface of the version manager, so all of our version managers going forward will look the same. There's the object manager that manages the version objects, and then there's a piece of code on the back end which interfaces it with a specific application software. So the first release that you're seeing is a release of version manager for our spreadsheet, 123 spreadsheets, but you could expect to see in the future version management for AMI Pro documents, for freelance graphics presentations.
So for the creation, say, of a company annual report or something like that, which is word processing and a bit of spreadsheet and so forth, and everybody inputs to it, it's an ideal solution.
It is an ideal solution, yes, absolutely.
Right, let me ask you one last question, if I may, and that's a topical one, because this videotape comes out, or the release date is the 1st of July, which is the day when Microsoft drop their recommended or suggested retail prices and go for typical selling prices. Can you comment on that and whether you think it's a good idea or what Lotus are liable to do?
I think it's an average idea, actually. It's we made some changes at the beginning of this year by lowering our suggested retail price, not to lower the typical selling price of our software, but because the suggested retail price had got so out of line with the typical selling price. Okay, so we changed the whole structure of our discounts and our suggested retail price to bring them into much closer alignment. The value of a suggested retail price, of course, is that it is a fixed price point reference, whereas a typical selling price varies from week to week, month to month. Okay, so it's very difficult. The TSP is a moving target.
Yeah.
As software becomes more commoditized, more sell through mail order, more sell through mass merchandisers, then certainly the typical selling price becomes the normal way in which you would refer to the price of a product. We're not quite there yet, but I don't think that the Microsoft move is a bad idea, and indeed we could at some point move to the same basic approach. But at the moment our suggested retail prices are close to our typical selling prices, and therefore there's no overwhelming reason to push the button on that right now.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and for answering questions.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition. Don't forget to send back the reply paid cards, and next edition Michael Rodd goes on location. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.